Hey, what's going on? Luke here. For today's video, we're here to talk about the top 5 signings of the 2022 season. Now, there's plenty of new signings. There's heaps of them. A lot of big name signings too. A lot of important signings. But I can't include everybody. I've got to narrow this down to the top 5. Now, I wanted to include just one club. So, it's safe for the Broncos, safe for the Bulldogs who have made multiple signings. Even teams like the Sharks. Teams that have signed, Niko Hines, whole bunch of signed at the Sharks. Bulldogs have signed, Naden, Dufty, Addo Burton, etc. Paul Vaughan, all those sort of players. It's hard to narrow down just one player. That's exactly what we've done. I didn't want to have, Addo Burton, all these players from just the one club making up multiple spots in the list. So we've gone from one player from one club. Also, don't get butthurt if one of your favourite players isn't on the list and you're like, oh my god, I should have chucked him in there. Just remember, this is just my opinion. You can leave your own in the comment section below. Feel free to leave your top 5. Anyways, that's the intro done and dusted. Now we can get into the list itself. So we're going to be going from 1 to 5. Not really any particular order, but there sort of is a little bit of an order. I've actually sort of thought about this one. So I'm going to start off at number 5. I'm going to go with Connor Watson, moving from the Newcastle Knights to the Sydney Roosters. Now, I think I had Xavier Coates originally in this number 5 spot, but I thought Connor Watson, I feel like his versatility would be absolutely crucial to the Roosters, and I feel like Xavier Coates, yes, he's going to be a good player, but he's not going to make or break the Storm, whereas I think Connor Watson can be a big player for the Roosters this year. I think if Sam Verrills doesn't kick on, he can come in there, he can play in the number 9. If Victor Radley's out suspended, which he probably will be, he can come in there and play in the number 13. He can come off the bench, he can play fullback, he can play in the halves, he can play in any position. He is quite literally the perfect utility. So I really like Connor Watson in general, and I like his signing for the Roosters. When he first signed, and also even to this day, I still don't really understand his thought process on signing with the Roosters, especially with Brandon Smith going there next year. But just in terms of him trying to win a premiership and doing what he needs to do in that regard, I can understand him going to the Roosters, especially because I think they have one of the best sides in the comp this year. I think they're a massive chance, and a lot of it comes down to players like Connor Watson. So a great signing for them. They also signed Momorowski as well, which was a big one. Even guys like Kevin Aguama, underrated signings, but the main one is definitely Connor Watson. Had to chuck him on this list. There's no doubt about it. He's an important player. Even, like I said, you can just plug him into any position and it's going to do a job for you. We even saw it at the Knights at the number 13 starting there every week. He really does suit the modern game. So, look, plenty of options for the Roosters. Even in the next couple of years, there's plenty of options. But yeah, Connor Watson, I think he's going to be really good for them this year, especially in their push for a premiership. Now, number 4, we got another half. Now, I don't know if you'd call Connor Watson a half. I don't really know what you'd call him. Utility, probably. But look, we got a half for this one. Number 4 is Shaun Johnson, moving from the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks to the New Zealand Warriors. It just feels right, doesn't it? It just feels right. Shaun Johnson back at home, back in the New Zealand Warriors colours. It just makes sense. Now, I was going to originally say back in the black jersey, but they don't really play in the black anymore. But look, Shaun Johnson back in that Warriors jersey. He honestly never should have left. When he left, I couldn't believe it, especially when he left and they brought in Nikorima. I was just like, man, you're just bringing in a shitty version of Shaun Johnson. And that's basically what's happened. Shaun Johnson went to the Sharks, played some of the best footy of his career, albeit he was injured quite a lot, I will say that much. But I will say he did really mature as a player. I think he probably was doing it regardless of moving to the Sharks, but it was just nice to see him do it outside of the Warriors and not be just known as, oh yeah, he's the Warriors guy. So him going to the Sharks and still playing really well, I think it added a lot of credibility to Shaun Johnson's career, because we know that the Warriors, even if he plays half decent, he's always going to be hyped up because he's a Kiwi playing for the local team. So he's always going to get hyped up. If by default he's their best player, he's going to be the captain. That's sort of just how it works at the Warriors. So him going back to the Warriors as a better player and a more confident player, I would say, I think it's really, really going to help the Warriors. In terms of them making the top 8 and all that sort of stuff, I don't know if that's going to be a huge move for them, but just in terms of the field, just in terms of just having Shaun Johnson playing at the Warriors, just feels so right, and it had to be on this list somewhere. I thought it was a bit more important than Connor Watson. Connor Watson is just another one of the Roosters players, really, at the end of the day, where Shaun Johnson has gone back to the club that they never should have got rid of. Like I said, I don't understand them getting rid of him in the first place, but he's back, and that's all that matters. Shaun Johnson to the Warriors 2022. He's my number 4. Now moving on to number 3. Now this one, I've gone with the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks as being like the player, but it could have been a number of players. Dale Finucane's moved there. Cameron McInnes has moved there, albeit he's out injured again. He missed all of last year. So I think the McInnes injury is sort of, I don't know, it's a bit iffy, that one. Especially I assume they've paid a little bit of money for him. But Finucane's a really good signing. Actually, when you actually go through all the signings, the Sharks don't have a lot of signings. They just got some really important ones, even down to the coach. He's a very important one. But the one we've got for this list, I think you can figure it out. Niko Hines moved from the Melbourne Storm to the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. I think it's a really good move for him. I think it's a good move for the Cronulla Sharks. Now, in terms of them being this top 4 side, I think everybody sort of expects them to be, especially with the signing of Niko Hines and Dale Finucane, they sort of expect them to just go from Melbourne, jump into the Cronulla system. They got a brand new coach and just produce a top 4 performance or really push for a top 4. Now, I think they're basing this off the fact that this previous years, they've had your Shaun Johnsons, your Matt Moylan's, Chad Townsend's, Trindles. They've had a whole bunch of players in the halves. Shaun Johnson was the pick of the bunch, easy. He was easily the best one out of them, and he ended up leaving. They told him he could leave, and they ended up signing Niko Hines, obviously, but Niko Hines has never really played 5'8" / halfback, so we're not even really sure where he's actually going to play. We've only ever seen him really play fullback, and even in terms of the All-Stars game, we saw a glimpse of him playing in the halves, and I wasn't super impressed. In fact, they actually had the Cronulla halves pairing of Trindle and Hines, so you would expect they were probably going to get the first crack. I believe Trindle's now suspended, so maybe a Matt Moylan, a young Matt Moylan, who's not so young anymore, might get a crack there. But look, in terms of the actual signing itself, I know they got Will Kennedy there, but Niko Hines was one of the best players in the comp last year, no doubt about it. It does help you play in the Melbourne system, but you can only play with the side that you got around you. Same with Finucane, both coming from Melbourne, both coming from a winning culture. I see that culture is a little bit questionable these days, especially after this last preseason. But just in terms of what Niko Hines offers, he offers some stability to that Storm side. You're not going to get someone who plays a good game then plays a bad game. You've got to get someone who's super consistent. In terms of directing the players around, I'm not sure if he's going to do that, but look, at worst, you can chuck him at fullback and chuck him in the backs. You're still going to get a very good player, and he hasn't signed on a huge contract. I think he was looking for an opportunity. Now, it's probably a bigger contract than what the Storm could have offered, but look, I think he was going to the Sharks for an opportunity, and I think he's going to take it with 2 hands. I think he's going to be very good. Is he going to lead them to all this success? I don't know. It doesn't help that he doesn't have a halves partner, really, who's set in stone. If they had, like, a proper halfback, it's kind of like the Storm. If he had a Jerome Hughes or a Cameron Munster just as his halves partner, even a dude like Chad Townsend or someone who could literally steer the ship around while he sort of just does his thing, I think it really would have helped Niko Hines. But look, in terms of an actual signing itself, I think it is a really good one. It is a high-profile signing. We get to see Niko in a Sydney side. Get to see a little bit more of him, you would have to say. So, look, I'm excited to see how he goes in the Sharks colours. I think he's going to do pretty well. Now, in this video, I feel like I've covered a fair few halves players. Connor Watson, Shaun Johnson, Niko Hines. Now we're going to be talking about Adam Reynolds. Now, he's obviously moved from the South Sydney Rabbitohs, going to the Brisbane Broncos, a move I personally never thought I'd see. I always just assumed Adam Reynolds is going to be a lifer at the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and I'm sure he's sort of going to go back to the Rabbitohs at some point, you know, to finish his career, like coaching, I should say. But look, him going to the Broncos is a huge signing. It is huge. Now, he's signed a big dollar contract with the Broncos, so there's going to be expectation. However, Adam Reynolds is going to handle the expectation. Now, in terms of the team around him, they were borderline like wooden spooners. 2 years ago, they were the wooden spooners. Last year, the Bulldogs were so bad that the Broncos just didn't get it. However, there's lots of youngsters. There is a lot to work with. So if the youngsters can get going, I feel like Adam Reynolds is the perfect one around him to get them going, to get them in the right spots, to allow them to play to the best of their ability. Look, they haven't really got some super coach. I don't really rate Kevin Walters. In terms of his halves pairing, there's no real standout. You got Billy Walters there. You got Tyson Gamble. You got Albert Kelly. I'm pretty sure Albert Kelly will probably land the other spot. And I actually do rate Albert Kelly. Super underrated player. I actually really like him. I think he should have been in the NRL years ago. Or at least he should have come back anyways. But Adam Reynolds has been there. He's done it. He's played for New South Wales. He's won premierships. Well, he's won a premiership. Nearly won a premiership last year. If it wasn't for him literally missing a field goal and missing a conversion, could have had a premiership against arguably one of the best sides in the last couple of years, which was the Penrith Panthers. All the talk about Nathan Cleary, but Adam Reynolds is definitely still up there in the top echelon of halfbacks. So I really rate Adam Reynolds. I think he can bring a lot to this Broncos side. You see a lot of Broncos fans, like a lot of media personalities, I think they're more hoping that the Broncos do well. Same way I'm a Bulldogs fan. I really want the Bulldogs to do well. Is there going to be some bias? Obviously. Now, a lot of them are like, oh, well, you see, they've brought Adam Reynolds, they've brought in Kurt Capewell. Look, they're going to be making the 8 for sure. I don't know if they'll necessarily make the 8 for sure. Trials, I know they don't mean a hell of a lot, but they didn't really impress me too much. You could definitely tell Kurt Capewell was a level above the rest of the forwards, apart from Payne Haas. Adam Reynolds, I think he's going to come in and do a hell of a lot with this side, but just in terms of them being like a guarantee for the top 8 or, even being the top 4, you see a lot of people talking about being possibilities for top 4, top 8, all that sort of stuff with the Broncos. I don't know if this is the year, but look, Adam Reynolds, fantastic player. They have definitely nailed it for that signing. Speaking of nailing signings though, the number one for this list is my Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Like I said, there's going to be bias, but I have picked Maddie Burton, moving from the Penrith Panthers to the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, going from a premiership winning side to the wooden spoon side. I feel like that would scare a lot of players, but I don't think it's going to scare Maddie Burton. Moving from the centres where he was centre of the year last year, going into the 5'8/halfback role. I think he's going to play 5'8 for us, but I wouldn't be surprised if at some point he does move to the halfback role. I think basically he's going to have to play as a halfback. He's going to be the dominant half. I can't really see Avarillo doing it, so Maddie Burton's going to be expected to come in and run the show, and I think he's capable. And also, you look at the contract that he signed was while he was still playing reserve grade. Obviously, there was big raps on Matt Burton, but there's no way people expected him to be in the mix for New South Wales already. Like, he was playing reserve grade when we signed him. By the end of the season, he was getting talked about as being a utility for New South Wales. He was that good in the centres. He's a great defender. He's got a huge boot on him, and that's exactly what the Bulldogs need. We've had nobody to get us out of trouble. We've had nobody to steer us around, and I know he hasn't played much first grade in terms of playing in the halves. It's all been in the centres, basically, and when he did, he played with Tyrone May, and I don't think he really set the world on fire, but there was always little glimpses, always little moments of brilliance, just that left foot step, and he's so big, he's so strong. He kind of reminds me of Jack Whiten. Like, if there's a gap and he's one-on-one with someone, super hard to stop, and he's so fast too. So, look, I really like Matt Burton. I think he's going to bring a lot to this Bulldog side. Similar to the Broncos, I feel like there's a lot of people who are saying, no way they can make the 8, and then you got other people who are saying they're a shoo-in for the 8. You got people saying they can compete for the top 4. I really don't know where they're going to end up. There's so many new signings. Like I talked about earlier, you've got Addo Carr, you got Brent Naden, you got Paul Vaughan, Matt Duffy. Matt Duffy looked really good. There's a lot of new signings in this side, so it may take a little bit of time to gel. They may not gel at all. There's still a lot of question marks over the halves, and they made some big signings for next year, which suggests that this year isn't that important. But in terms of important players, it doesn't get any more important than Matt Burton. Guys, that's how I'm going to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching. Those are my top 5 signings for the 2022 NRL season. Leave in the comment section below who are your top 5 signings. I'm sure there's going to be some people who agree with me, some people who disagree. Let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you happen to enjoy this video, go ahead and leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Also, make sure to follow me on social media. It's on the screen right now. It's Mr. Luke and YT for the most part. My Facebook is Mr. Luke, but everything else, including Snapchat, including TikTok, is Mr. Luke and YT. So go ahead, give me a follow, give me an ad, and stay tuned for more content on the channel. The NRL season is very, very close, which means there's going to be plenty of videos, whether that's Rugby League Live 4, Rugby League Live 5, who would have thought, but we're finally getting it, or even just NRL content in general. So stay tuned for that, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. See yous.